the Spitfire Audio Westworld competition. This was my entry. This is the YouTube upload. You have to upload it to YouTube to do the thing. Oh, I thought it was there. No, it's on here. So if you go to spitfire.audio.com, this was the competition. An incredible chance to provide the music for quite a gripping scene in the season 3 of a scene from season 3 of Westworld. Some very illustrious people involved, and yeah, it's been an absolute honor to be able to use this video footage. And they give you the video, they give you the sound effects, they give you the dialogue. All you have to do is provide the music backing. So there's no sound design, there's no, and I mean, I did a bit of sound design because I wanted to, but like, you don't have to do any of that. You could use any sounds you wanted as long as they were royalty free. You basically, I imagine you'll be judged on how well you mix the music with the original dialogue and all the rest of it. So welcome, Logic and Cuppa Sessions. So yeah, this was the competition. I had a sneaky look at some of the other entries. If you type in hashtag Westworld Scoring Competition 2020 into YouTube, you'll see, well, I mean, I can do it now, Westworld Scoring Competition 2020. You can see how many entries there are. There's so many entries, and they range from, professional people who have been doing it for ages, to, I think I saw one video where it was like someone's just recorded like an acoustic guitar track over it. Didn't really have anything to do with what was going on. It was very odd. But obviously had a go, whatever. Maybe some people have done several entries, I'm not sure. But I mean, it took a long time for me to work out. You can see here's the video embedded in my Logic. Here's all the tempo changes going up and down all over the shot. There's the dialogue with the effects. Hey Sashwat, how you doing? It's been a while since I did a live stream. It's mainly because I've been doing this and some other things, but yeah, I didn't want to. I was kind of I was umming and ahhing about doing the other. So this, I've submitted my score. My score's finished. This is the final thing. I just thought I'd go through it and sort of solo a few things, show some techniques or whatever, but and sort of dissect it a bit for anyone who's interested. But yeah, I was thinking about, I got sort of halfway through and I was thinking, oh, this would be really cool to do as a live stream, and to create, stuff and have feedback instantly and da. But well, my wife sort of flagged the issue, which was that, if you do have other people involved who are listening and giving feedback, sometimes you can sort of go down a bit of a tangent without wanting to. If you were by yourself, would you have done that thing that, would I have put a bunch of amens in it because I got told to, that kind of thing. So yeah, I decided to stay offline and just put hours into making it as good as I could. I'll play the full thing now, but it's also the link is I can put the link in the chat box. How about that? That would make sense, wouldn't it? Should have thought about that. Restream.io. Also, someone said about using stream elements and things like that. and Streamlabs. I've looked into it. I find the whole thing really confusing, so I didn't use that in the end. But I'll just pop this window out, and that can go. Oh no. Smaller. There we go. Right. So where is it? There. Okay. Right. I'll pop this link into the chat, and then you can have a look at home, or you can save it somewhere else. But anyway, I'll play through my my submission now. Hopefully it'll play, because I moved it onto an external hard drive, but fingers crossed it'll work. If not, I might have to do some mucking around with moving files across, etc.
Approaching now.
Verified. Enable semi-automatic control. Disable safety features. Maximum speed. Go.
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
We need distance. Head south.
Is that standard issue?
No. It's not. Point and shoot. Police ahead. Maintain speed. Sharp left. Now.
I missed!
Hold on.
This is my favorite bit.
All right, I need you. Drop in, intersect, maximum speed.
Yeah, that was really hard. I had to like lift the whole dialogue during that bit. Still wasn't enough. Nice one. Well, so let's go through that a bit. I'll just make this a bit smaller so you can see all of the tempo changes. You can also see if I expand each channel. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you can see I lifted the dialogue during that bit where you said you couldn't hear her. That went up. You know, it was so quiet during that bit, but also I wanted that bit to be the sort of hero. You know, the bike is the hero essentially of the entire scene. Sort of saves the day. So I wanted that to be like, you know, the real climax. And so I was sort of like chucking everything in, you know, all the horns, all the strings, all the drums, everything just sounding massive, and you just couldn't hear what she was saying. And if you look at the dialogue, essentially that is actually, it seems to get quieter there for some reason. If you look at the sort of the way this all goes, it's all quite similar level, and then during this bit it's just really quiet. So I just felt like that's a bit unfair, because that should be, you know, still, it should be at least as loud as the rest of it, if not more so, because I'm gonna chuck a load of stuff at it. So that was the only bit of I didn't EQ. I noticed like a lot of the submissions, a lot of the entries, you can tell straight away, oh, they've put some like weird EQ on the master bus, because all of the dialogue and all of the, like, you know, the gun sounds sounded really thin and like bright and harsh, and it was just weird. So I didn't want to mess with the master too much, or with the mix of the dialogue and effects and everything. So I kept that pretty straight, and then right, let's look at, so the way I started it, I'll have to make this a bit smaller, because I ended up like colouring, because it all got so complicated. Originally it was sort of in time sequence. I was just like adding each thing as I went along, you know. Oh, this sounds good for this passage, oh, and then it should go into this thing, and so everything just became like a step ladder. Whereas what I wanted to do when it came to mixing, I wanted to group everything together. So then I color coded everything, and sort of organized it a bit better. So we've got drums at the top, bass, arpeggiated stuff, synths, pads, choir stuff, like vocal stuff, strings, loads of strings, quite a lot of horns, and then various swells and effects and other stuff that I did. So we've got this intro pad that basically was just the first thing that I did. I just wanted like a sort of ominous, I used Spitfire Labs for that, glacial pad with a bit of movement on it, just like in loud, a bit of a sort of, I think they call it what's it called, sforzando crescendo, where it's sort of like There's a lot of that, especially with the horns, where it's like you come in loud, you die away, and then you sort of bring it back up gradually. There's a lot of that. I just like that sort of like, it adds drama straight away, you know. And then there was this little tape choir effect, quite sort of eerie, almost. I mean, that I when I looked at the tape choir, this is a free plugin as well. So it starts off with 2 free plugins basically. One is the Labs, and one is this Sonic Couture tape choir. And yeah, it's when I first downloaded it, I was like, wow, this is like classic drum and bass pad, you know, original jungle pad sort of vibe. So yeah, that's how it starts, and then we've got this eerie, not sure what that is. Okay, so that was one of the themes basically. I was like, I need to have a theme, something that ties everything together. And from looking at the scene, you kind of get a bit of a like dystopian future vibe about it. I think I only watched like a couple of episodes of Westworld, the first series, and then they brought out the second series and discontinued the first series. And I thought, well, I haven't watched the whole of the first series, so I don't really want to get into the second series because I don't know what's going on. so yeah, well, this is the thing. So Aaron Paul is in the third season, third series, I guess. I don't know if he's in the second series, but yeah. So I didn't really watch any of it, but this seems to be like, you know, proper, you know, Blade Runner future dystopia sort of vibe. And that is, I don't know if anyone's seen, there was an advert that I did the music for a while back, which was a pastiche of Blade Runner. In fact, let me check that the chat window is lined up. Oh, it's not. Window capture. What is that? No, that needs to be, sorry, 1 second, properties. Okay, let's do Safari Restream chat. Okay, there we go. I don't know if that's in the right place. I hope it's not. Oh no, it's not in the right place. Let's just move it. There. Oh no. It's not going any smaller. There we go. There it is. Oh. Yeah. Well, yeah, basically because I've got the chat window open, but if I do that, then that'll be fine. But because I want to use, I'll just cover it. There we go. Right, on my website, domhowardmusic.com, there's a showreel with stuff that auto plays. But if you go to work and then bespoke composition, so this is what I mean. So this was a Heineken advert with Ronaldinho. Similar sort of kind of idea. So that was that. That was a lot of fun. You know, I'd just come back from watching. I don't know if it was. Yeah, I think it was after Blade Runner 2049 came out, which I'd been to see at the cinema once with my wife, and then once with my friends. We went to the IMAX and saw it on the big, like, massive screen. It was just, like, mind-blowing. Completely different experiences each time. You know, a normal cinema, you kind of go, oh, that's nice cinematography and whatever, but you kind of engaged in the story. In the IMAX, it's like you can't tell what's going on in the story because you're just blown away constantly by incredible imagery and incredible landscapes and amazing, you know, visual effects. And like when any character has dialogue, it's like their face is like the size of a building. So yeah, just like a big, I think it wasn't like a 3D thing. It was just a huge screen, and you're like really close to it. It was quite amazing. I've still got goosebumps just talking about it. But then to get the opportunity to do to pitch on that advert and then to win it, because I was so like inspired by all of that like Blade Runner vibe stuff and just being like, this is perfect. And then an opportunity like this comes along, which is like, oh my god, like basically a full length scene to score, where you're not giving the music off to someone else to get mixed, who's just gonna like shove a load of sound effects all over it and you won't be able to hear the music. It's genuinely like down to you to mix the music. They've already done the dialogue and the effects. You've just got to mix that music. So yeah, it was just incredible opportunity really, and just the way that it's all come together. I do love a sort of really epic, intense symphony sound, you know, symphony orchestra sound. I used to sit back desk of the violas in the Bromley Youth Symphony Orchestra, sort of, you know, miming for the most part and trying to get the occasional right note. But I was right in front of, if you think about the way that the orchestra is arranged, you've got sort of left to right, you've got first violins, second violins, violas, cellos, and then behind that you've got the sort of woodwind at the back, percussion, and then behind the violas is this huge brass section, which was, if you're back desk of the violas, you've got this wall of horns behind you. And I remember we opened the school's prom at the Royal Albert Hall. But, I mean, I was probably about 14, 15 or something. And we were playing Mars from the Planets, Holst's The Planets, which is dark. You know, it wasn't my school's prom. It was, you know, like the proms, like the BBC proms, you know, the Royal Albert Hall proms. It was like that, but for school kids and for like people that, you know, the best school choirs or the best youth choirs and the best orchestras and whatever. And we had won the festival of music for youth or something, national festival. So as the sort of winning thing, we get to open the school's prom with Holst the Planets, Mars from the Planets, and it's dark. It's in 5/4. You're playing strings with the back of your bow, which is this sort of like clacky sort of. It's called. I use some of it. Collegno. It's this sort of. I don't know. Is that gonna? No. Doesn't seem to be playing. Why is that? That's weird. That's not doing... It's not doing anything. Why is that? Should it be at 0? No. Interesting. Is it because we're watching the YouTube? Does it play now?
We're approaching now.
No, it's still playing. It's playing. Is there... I can hear like something, but it's very weird. If I... Oh, is it this? Oh yeah, that'll be it. Wonder why that is. Let's just take that off. So this is the sort of Colegno. This is the back of the bow, which is... Yeah, I think it's... If I did it on latency free. And then the horns come in, bah, 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 like right at the start. So we walk in to to the Royal Albert Hall in pitch black, and you have to find your chairs somehow. We sit down, and we've got our music in front of us, and we're sort of holding the bow, waiting for the conductor to bring his arms up. You're in this vast, like, Royal Albert Hall is massive, and as he brings his arms up, the whole stage just got drenched in red light, like everything just went red, and all I could see was my sheet music go from being like, I can barely see what's going on because it's pitch black, now suddenly it's like blood red. And I've got to start playing. And then I know that in like 2 bars, I'm going to have a wall of horns kick in with like ridiculous low horns behind me. I just like, that was intense, you know. But incredible, like an incredible like thing to experience as a young person. And I think it sort of like influenced me quite a bit in terms of like, you know, I really get a kick out of a big horn, like, you know, like a big low horn. Easy. And yeah, so that's kind of, I think, why I'm drawn to stuff like this. You know, the sort of epic orchestral stuff. Just looking at this band free. Oh, okay. So it just comes up at the beginning there, so that's fine. I suddenly had a thought that maybe I'd missed off all of the Colegno strings, but yeah. So then, basically, the way to, at least set out with the what, because you need to be hitting each of these like main points in the video. There's going to be like main scene changes where you're like, this needs to have a signifier. So you just listen to it, because obviously you won't have made any music, so you basically just solo the clip without the music, put a click on, and I worked out that like at what speed is it, 134,
Verified.
I could do a sort of 8 bar 9 bar sort of build up.
Maximum speed. Go.
The other thing is that you want to be like, you want to use musical sort of tricks. So everyone is conditioned by 4/4 phrases of 8 bars, right? Like all dance music is 8 bars, 16 multiples of 8 or multiples of 4. So if you have that, if you do an 8-bar phrase and then you have that extra bar at the end, it sort of gives the listener like a bit of a like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like it adds that bit more space, that bit more sort of tension, unprediction. Yeah, exactly. Well, it doesn't catch you by surprise, but it sort of it kind of pulls the rug out, so you're not really sure where you're going next. You know, you think, is this it? No, this can't be it. Yeah, sort of like a fake. Yeah. So I was keen to have that at the start. You don't really have a tempo signifier, but I wanted this 9th bar to be that sort of, you know, she says, what does she say?
Control, disable safety features. Maximum speed, go.
Maximum speed, go. I mean, that's like, you know, that's like an EDM drop, isn't it? It's like big build up, then a fake drop, maximum speed, go, and then a drop, you know. So it's kind of it lent itself to that. So what else was in there? There was this scary strings. I think this is another Labs. Yeah, this is another Labs. I used this quite a lot. A lot of the Labs stuff was just really useful for sound design, stringy sort of sounds. Just like semitone clash, classic bit of tension, you know, straight away. And then yeah, there's the rise and hit. I used that a couple of times. Bit of a sort of, and I wanted it to really. Some people watched the video and decided that the sort of impact like moment was not. They sort of did like a you know, like Blade Runner, not Blade Runner, like Road Runner cartoons, you know, where they sort of jump in the air and their legs go round and then they don't go until they hit the ground again. They ended up doing a sort of, you see in this section where, so after the wheels spin,
maximum speed, go.
There. So they a lot of other people used this as the sort of, you know, he's being pushed back in his seat, that's the one bit. But for me, it was that cut to the wheels just has so much like aggression in it, that it had to be that, you know. It's like this sudden like burning of rubber and whatever. I just wanted that to be, you know, and it's straight after she says go as well, so it's like it's got to be that has to be the moment. And I kind of, my first version, I maybe went in a bit too hard. I ended up muting some of the Collegno string. I had like horns coming in, I had like, you know, bass everywhere and whatever, and it was a bit much. But I also wanted, because when I saw this scene coming up where he sort of like wigs out a bit in the car, I wanted the sort of rhythm to continue, but to be like sort of mangled or sort of slowed down, you know, that kind of like classic like Hollywood, oh, he's taking some drugs or whatever, you know, everyone's speaking really low. So I kind of wanted that effect. So I used this Moog, just like a sort of clicking. I basically took all the frequencies of all the tone out of it and just made it a sort of like clicking sound. Which just sort of like sets the tone for that. And it actually follows that sort of horn line. But it was basically just sort of planting that root note, which was D, because low D in the horns is massive. So yeah.
Maximum speed, go.
So I originally had this kick as the main kick, but it was kind of like, yeah, it's a cool sound, but it doesn't have, like, I couldn't sidechain anything to it because it was just too long and full of like distortion and effect. So I ended up layering this 909 really low pass underneath it, just to add that like low thud impact, and it meant that I could then sidechain other stuff to it.
Maximum speed, go.
And I used this. I'm not even sure if they're quantized. Oh yeah, they're just a bit loose. They sound a bit loose because I think they don't exactly trigger on the one, or they don't trigger exactly on the beat each time. So it's a lot of stuff was from Albion 1, which is a really amazing sort of symphonic library from Spitfire. Let me just open a window, it's quite hot. Yeah, so sort of
Maximum speed, go.
like that was the instant sort of I want the impact to happen with the wheel, because that is the, you know, him falling back in his seat is a sort of end result of the acceleration, but I wanted to show the acceleration as the sort of drama part of it. And then I had, this was another one of those themes. You know, I was talking about that the Heineken advert, which had this sort of rising going through it. I basically did the same thing except the other way around and had like a falling synth, which is first, you hear it first with this. So I wasn't really sure what he was doing with that iPad. Like, is he like sorting out his record box collection, like downloading some MP3s? I don't know. But that needed a signifier for me. And I felt like that sort of descending, spacey, reverbed synth for me was like, okay, this is something I can use as like a futuristic sound design theme to everything. So then I did a similar thing with this. This was like a neon light, which has been sampled. This is another free download, Clang Neon Tube Buzz, which I think we looked at in a previous live stream. And it sort of sounds like that. And you can modulate it. gets more distorted, and it's such a cool sound. So I was like, this is, you think basically when my wife and I, after we had seen Blade Runner, we went back to where we were living in Stratford, and all the skyscrapers, all of the like flashing lights and the neon billboards sort of stuff just all felt like, wow, this, some of this looks incredibly Blade Runner-y. Like, around Westfield supermarket, well, shopping centre, there's like a huge, there's a Stratford International railway station and DLR, which is a sort of monorail type unmanned, like weird futuristic toy train that goes around East London. There's a huge like Stratford train station itself is just massive, loads of platforms, so there's just concrete everywhere. There's it's huge weird buildings. There's like a cooling station for the shopping centre that's almost like a massive skyscraper itself, with all this steam coming out of it and everything. It's just like, going there at night, you just feel like this is some dystopian future stuff. And we were like joking to each other, we'd just sort of like point somewhere and then make this sort of sound. Like that was the kind of like the theme of Blade Runner, Wow, like that was what we took away from that film in terms of like I know obviously there's more to it than that, but you would get these huge amazing cinematography, sort of like special effects, like animated landscapes with this sort of so yeah, that's kind of where I got the inspiration for that, and I felt like that should be a theme. So I think I introduced it fairly subtly to start. Yeah, just the occasional little thing. And then it goes up to the E for that bit where he's going a bit weird. And then we had sort of there was another thing. This thing was just cool as hell. This sound, I was going through sort of what sounds can I use as like, a bit more like gritty, aggressive, mid-bass stuff, and this thing in the, like that was just, I mean, what is it? Salmon or brass? Apparently. And obviously, yeah, put an ARP on it, so it just sort of goes, and it's just the one little hit, and I just felt like that was like such a weird. It sounds like it's in a room. It sounds like kind of like a real sound, but like also really synthesized, and you're not really sure what it is. Is it someone scraping a chair across the floor in a room? Like, just weird. And it just stuck out to me straight away. I was like, this is the sound for the like the baddies, So as many times as I could, I tried to work it in when there was a shot of like, the hunters, I'm gonna call them, the people who are chasing and shooting at Aaron Paul. So there he is. It's kind of like a bit of a theme as well.
I think he's switching genres.
So this one I really wanted like a rising, like, in Hollywood films in the future, when they sort of like have like a futuristic shotgun or something, and they like pump it, and or like they're like reloading, but it always has like a charge up sound, like whoop. I kind of wanted one of those, because it's almost like he is part of, I don't know what he is, but whatever he's going through at the moment is like, it's almost like some sort of, I know there's like, Westworld is about robots, and is he maybe a robot? Don't know, but he seems to be like going through some sort of shift, so I wanted that type of noise, like a charging up, like he's gonna do something badass, so I had this thing happening. It just goes really high, and that's just an ES1 with a long FM sort of rise on it, and I think that's, and just a long pitch bend, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, the pitch bend went from, I think I don't know what I did, bend range to it, so I did like an octave up, and then I put a bit of EQ and a distortion thing on it, this berserk distortion, and then I also had this, which was Concepts synth, which was a synth that I did some work on designing some presets for. That's a Krotos synth. But I think the preset that I used, or at least the one that I started with, was Hieroglyphic Being Sonic Glyphics 1, which just had a sort of like weird, oh, what's happened here? Where's that gone? Why is that still there? Weird. Just had like a sort of grainy effect to it, I think. So that kind of, the combination of the two of those sort of gave quite a nice effect. You'll notice as well there's a bit of a sort of jerk during that. If you look closely at the original video, you'll see there's like a bit of sort of like, almost like, with like old cameras, there's like hairs on the reel when they show it back, and it's just a bit juddery. It starts doing that.
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
So you can see there's like, there's sort of bits of specks of dust or whatever seem to creep in there, and I wanted to make more of that. And so I basically put in like vinyl crackle, and I look, and if you zoom in, you can sort of see, okay, there's a bit of a glitch on his face there, so I put a little glitch sound there. If we zoom out, there's another like couple around here. So there. Oh, is it gonna do it? And here, yeah, there's one either side there, and then another big one there. So the big ones I wanted to sort of like just judder it a bit more, make it so I had like a couple of little crackles leading up to it, and then there's this big one that comes here which really needed like more of an accent to it. And then I've got the Eric Whittaker choir. I bounced it because I was going to do the same thing with the choir, but when I did that it just sounded like, oh, the sound's gone wrong. So I wanted to keep the choir in the end.
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
So that was the sort of, you know, real discord, and then a bit of a modulation, and then back into the root again. So that was, yeah, starting with the E, then the D. There's like a tonal clash. Then kind of modulating but keeping the D and the E, and then adding like the F and the C sharp. It's all just getting real crunchy. And then it sort of lands on Cantus. This is fun. This is the so the thing I love about Spitfire is they're just like, aside from how great obviously all the products are, and this isn't an advert, I'm not sponsored by them, whatever, but all of their GUIs are just clean, really functional, really like minimal, not full of ridiculous artwork. This is like the opposite. This is like horrendous. Look at these guys. What's going on here? Who thought that was a good idea? Anyway, so these are monks. Or people in fancy dress with sort of candles and everything. You can do phrases. You can do... Oh yeah, and then I pitched it down an octave, so that's why it sounds weird. That's a breath. That's them singing Fortuna, but... So you can sort of create like biblical sort of church-like phrases, but I just wanted like an you know, like a sound, which it does. It's got all of the vowels and whatever, and I just wanted like a low vocal on the root.
We need distance.
And obviously because it's a voice, it has a few changes to it and whatever, so, you know, rather than make a synth that modulates and does all that stuff, I just thought it would be more interesting to keep it with voices and stuff. So yeah, that's that one. I don't know, is there anything else? And then yeah, that eerie sort of the theme. I don't want to say theme tune because there's something else that was the sort of real melody, but this sound that keeps popping up happens.
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
And then I had some more sort of scary strings.
We need distance.
There's like almost like a, you know, when someone's left a TV on in like another room and you can hear that like high pitched frequency. There's something going on there. I think it's this cello, but no, I think it must be the stretched strings. Yeah, whatever this range has got like a real high-pitched something going on. Yeah, and then we get into it. Then we get into this. So, in one of the last live streams, I was looking at free instruments. This is one of them. Hammered violin. This clang thing, like, they've got loads of free instruments, which is great if you're looking to add some interest to your productions. This hammered violin is perfect. I mean, it was like, it's like when I was talking about the collegno, you know, with the back of the bow. It's like that, but there's no bow. It's just a hammer. So it was like, it's as percussive as it gets. You can modulate it. So that's the normal one. You can, if you, with the mod wheel, you can really sort of and then, yeah, and do that. I think the other one, I think I had chords. So yeah, but again, it's not a full orchestra. It's just a bit of a sound designy thing, but it lends itself to being like, you know, in a scene like this, you want it to constantly build. So you can just gradually bring up that. And it just suggests the rhythm. And then the full collegno comes in. So yeah, then of course it's a bit stop-starty. My entry is a bit stop-starty. I was looking at other people's ones, and a lot of them are sort of more interested in establishing a theme musically, you know, not having too many stop-starts. Everything is sort of, you know, yeah, it goes up and down in volume, but a lot of them keep to the same tempo as much as possible, and generally the same sort of vibe and sound. But I think because I've been used to dealing with adverts, and because this scene is so like, it's such an energy filled scene, you know, it's like it has to keep you on the edge of your seat all the time. So it's almost like each little thing is like a new mini scene in itself. It's sort of divided up into all these different bits, you know. The first bit, they're being chased, then he has this weird sort of like jib out, then there's another chase scene, then it's back into the car and you're looking at this weird weapon that this woman's loading, and that's like a different section in itself. And I didn't want the music to continue. I wanted each thing to be like sort of, you can use similar sounds and you can sort of continue the theme, but having it sort of broken up by all of these little mini scenes, mini cutaways, you know. And so with that in mind, there's a bit of a chord sequence that leads up to the point at which this, like, you see this, because you think, all right, okay, how are they gonna, you know, they're being chased, what next? And then this is what's next, you know, this weird rocket launcher thing. And again, you know, the scary strings, but then I start to introduce the melody there in this section, so which was the horn section. But each time it's like interrupted by the descending, like, Blade Runner synth, you know. And you've got, each time it sort of builds. You start with this one. I tried introducing it earlier, it didn't work, so then I brought it in at this scene. That's a bit more trumpety, and one's on the left, one's on the right, and then they're both together. And then that's sort of trumpet, horn thing, and then brass in the middle doing the chords underneath. Oh yeah, and that was, I was lucky enough to, so another great thing with Spitfire is they give out a lot of free instruments, and this latest thing was the BBC Symphony Discover plugin, which you could then upgrade to the core. And because they had a sale on and this, that and the other, I decided to upgrade, and I mean, it sounds amazing, you know. That's the other thing with that is it's monophonic. I don't know if it could possibly be polyphonic. I'm not sure. Is there options? Is there any options? Transpose, reset, round robins. No. Key switch. Does that do anything? I mean, that just sounds like there's no difference. That is a horn. That's a horn melody. Sounds incredible. And it's, you can do legato, so it's kind of like, you know, you get that glide. And there's all kinds of other intonations you can have, trills, incredible instrument. It's not the full version. The full version, I think the Pro is like 900 quid or something, but to upgrade from the free version to this version cost me like, I think because in the sale it was like 200 quid, 250. But I mean, to have the BBC Symphony Orchestra in your computer, what the hell, like, you know, 250 quid's nothing for that. Yeah. So it seems like some of them are monophonic and some of them are polyphonic. So this one is the trombones, but I think it's... That was the staccatissimo trombones. So they came in at the end just to sort of bulk it up a bit more. Anything else that was interesting? So we've got the scary strings again. We've got evil cello. Love that. Aperture strings, Collegno. This pigment sub, I think, is just a straightforward sort of bassy stub. It's got a bit of atmosphere to it as well. And I wanted to pitch it up a bit towards the end there.
Police ahead. Maintain speed. Sharp left. Now.
Getting those, the hammers and the collegnos, that was just a sort of increase, straightforward increase in velocity. Oh yeah, this one. So I had like, the first version I did of this, obviously it's 172 at that point, BPM. So the temptation was too much, and I had like drum and bass, Reese bass line going off. What was it? This thing. It was like... so it was minus 16. So it was like up here, I think. So it was all very like wah, 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 you know, and it was a bit much. It was a bit much, but the one thing that I loved was the missile. If you listen to the sort of original sound effect, at that point it's just a bit of a sort of meh. Like, it's a missile sound, but I wanted to like musically get rid of these bloody markers. Okay. I wanted to like musically signify it. So it does a kind of sound, which is cool, but if you listen with the music, I used that Reese bass line and just sort of filtered it as it goes past. Just going from sort of almost like a Doppler effect, you know, like as a fire engine goes past, the pitch goes down, and I wanted that sort of effect, and then into reverb. So I used that Reese bass line, which was fun. There's so many things, man. Like, I just love this. I love it when you've got something visual to work from, you know, because you kind of go, I could do this here, and then you'd like play around with ideas and stuff. The other thing, which was my favourite, was doing this choir. I mean, the Eric Whittaker choir is just incredible anyway. Um, that was the Evo grid, and I was using a sort of like hushed sound to, I think a lot, you could use the other one, you can have like, you know, there's all kinds of different intonations and recordings. Some are like, you know, rah 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 rah, others are like, you know, semitone clashes, some are like more rhythmic, less rhythmic, some are like quieter, some are louder, some have got, you know, crescendos built in, so you can map a whole load of different stuff across the keys and it makes it really interesting. But for this I just wanted that like sort of hushed simple if you just keep it going, it just sort of, each thing swells and gives way. So this choir bomb is the sound of the bomb, and I wanted it to sort of, as it goes up into the air, almost be like a sort of angel of death type idea, and then just sort of saturates and gets a bit distorted as it, and then having that not just sort of going into the explosion, but having like almost like a short pause. And this speed up was it was really important for that. I went up to 240 BPM for 4 beats and made a bar of 5/4, just so that I could have that little like extra stop before the explosion on the one. You know, if you look at it, the video goes from this is going into the car, and there's this split second where it cuts to him, but the car hasn't exploded yet. And that for me was like, having that little gap was really important. So you have this.
I missed.
Hold on.
To have that sort of little gap in there. I also used Rise and Hit to add to the voices at the end there, just giving it like a, and then moving. I basically bounced it in place, cut it at the sort of point where the hit is, so it's like rise and pause and hit. There's the theme again.
All right, I need you. Drop in, intersect, maximum speed.
And then having that chord change there was really important for me, because it's like the bike is a whole new, like, this is the first time you've seen a bike in the whole scene. So like, what the hell, what's that? Where did that come from? And sticking mostly to D, and then just shoving the chord sequence down a major third just gives you that like, oh right, now we're into something. And then the way that the theme continues over that. in an earlier version, I had stopped the music exactly as she had said stop, and it didn't really sit right with me. Like, as much as musically, yeah, you could make it do that without it feeling weird. It was more the fact that, like, that's a bit. There's a fine line between hitting the right points and almost over hitting the points, you know, like making it too obvious, making it too, you know, and then they say this, and so then I have a sound that represents what they've just said or whatever it is. So I sort of, and also because she says stop and then the car eventually stops, I wanted the music to do the same, where it doesn't, it sort of carries on a bit, it sort of like peters out, you know, rather than just having like a big stop.
Stop.
And there's
Why the f are we stopping?
those Bartok strings. There's sort of like a really heavy plucked string going throughout that, which is it's almost like a ticking of like a, because this is essentially a bomb, right? It's a bike bomb or something. So there was that extra little bit there, and then I think it comes back in again here. And then speeds up. And then hits that. So
Stop.
Why the f are we stopping?
Get down.
this is also really good. This trumpet fields, double tonguing. Oi oi. Yeah, bit of free brass action. Just gives it a different texture, you know. And a bit of a sort of like tremolo, bit of a sort of a bit of a worried feel to it, you know. And then the obligatory massive horn and double bass and synth thing on the logo. So yeah, that's me. That's my breakdown of it. If there's anything else you want me to go over, let me know in the chat. There's not a whole lot of drums in this. I was feeling like I needed a bit more at the end, so I added some what I called Armageddon perks, which is it's a whole, I mean it's called the Armageddon Ensemble in Damage, which is great for sort of epic taiko drums and whatever. But what's really good about it is it had a bit of a think about closing it then. is that it goes all the way from sort of your low hits all the way up to your all that. So and I wasn't really sure about, like, you know, I just wanted sort of random little skitty rhythms building into each of the hits on the one. So so I basically just like mashed a load of notes, put the arpeggiator onto 1/16 with a bit of a random velocity, because each velocity is a very different sound. So I could just play one note sounds great. So if you play a load of notes, it's like, it's this sort of skittish, like, weird thing. So yeah, just sort of mashing them. I wanted to add a bit more like randomness to it, just because it felt, you know, if you have the same roll into the one each time, it just sounds a bit rigid, it sounds a bit static. If you add a bit more, I mean, you could go in and change each of the rolls individually by hand, but then if you just randomize an arpeggiator, there's your random rolls each time. So
All right, I need you. Drop in, intersect, maximum speed. Arm charges now. Accelerate. Acceleration 90%. Full 94%.
and then there was this glide up synth. This was Pigments through a berserk. This berserk distortion, the reason I bounced in place is because every time I used it on a channel, or not every time, but a lot of the time when I use it on a channel, it has something about it where you'd press play and there would be this huge click as you press play, and the last thing I wanted was for the start of my film to have this massive click, or the start of my score to have this huge click at the start. So I had to basically bounce in place and then get rid of the click at the start, which is a bit annoying, but whatever, it's fine. So just put in a synth there for this sort of this for that bit.
Accelerate.
Oops. Oh, why is it not playing now? This is Hey Super Zero. I'm just going through my entry for the Westworld scoring competition. Hashtag Westworld scoring competition 2020. The problem is Logic 10.5. And press play and it does that. After a while it just decides you can't play anymore, and no one's worked out a way around it, at least not that I know of. So you have to basically quit Logic and start again, which is great, really helpful in the middle of a live stream. So I'll just get rid of that. Come on. So anyway, if you want to watch it again, I put the link in the chat, but this is it again. That's the link to the final video. and I think I'm probably going to leave it there, to be honest, because it seems like everyone's bored and I'm not making anything, so they can't tell me to put amens in it. But yeah, I just figured, you know, it was such a fun project for me. I was just really keen to like go through all of the like decisions that I made while I was doing it, and I hope everyone enjoys it. I mean, I very much don't think that I stand a chance of winning because there's like thousands of entries. I mean, some of them have had like, you know, 16, 20,000 views on YouTube already, and I've got 150 or something. Hopefully they don't judge it by views. If they judge it by views, that would suck, because that's not really fair. That's about who has the most YouTube presence. Some of them are just weird. Let's see what the latest one that's been uploaded is. I'm not going to go in too hard, but I mean, some of them are just horrendous. Right, let's filter by upload date, the last hour. Right, Paul Van Nimwegen. Let's see what his one is.
We're approaching now. Stand by. Got it.
Verified. Enable semi-automatic control. Disable safety features. Maximum speed. Go.
So he held right off. Oh, this is gonna crap all over my one. Didn't bring in any music until then. He's already got 3 comments.
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
5.7 thousand subscribers compared to my 5.
We need distance. Head south.
Is that a standard issue?
No. It's not.
It's gone for quite a minimal approach.
Point and shoot. Police ahead. Maintain speed. Sharp left.
Hey. Thanks, man. It's almost like it's quite sort of EDM-y. Nice.
I missed.
Hold on. need you. Drop in, intersect, maximum speed. Arm charges now.
It's interesting.
Accelerate.
Acceleration of 90%. 94%.
So all of the sound effects are in, all the dialogue's in. You just have to add the music.
Stop.
Why the are we stopping?
It's kind of morphed from like industrial techno to like piano. Interesting. Oh. Nice. And nothing. I feel like that's a wasted opportunity. You know, you've got this huge logo. Like, come on, man. Like, bah, this is the logo. Bah. It's a bit of a wasted opportunity, in my opinion. But then, you know, there's a lot of like, I don't know. There's people who do a lot of film scoring who would probably say that my score was more like, it's just a bit like maybe over the top. There's too much going on. There's too much music all the time. Da 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 da. But I don't really care. I mean, yeah, maybe you can't hear a dialogue very well during the last section. That's my bad. But I just feel like there's so many opportunities to create sounds for stuff. Why wouldn't you just do sounds, like especially with the last logo, you know, it's like Westworld, come on, ba-ba, you know, like what are you going to do? You're just going to leave it silent? I feel like that's a waste. Anyway, so I will play this again and I'll sort of I'll put it up here and then we can I'll look, you can see the project go along as it's, or maybe if I can I minimize this? Yeah, and then take the info off, then do that, and then I can put, let's see how this looks. So that's going to be too small, isn't it? Or I could make this smaller. I'm just trying to work out a way. How do I? Okay, how does that look? Is that gonna be? Oh no, where's it gone? Okay, so it's slightly over the chat window perhaps, but that's fine. So I'll just get rid of that. Is it better, or is it better just to have it up here? Maybe it's better just to have it up there, and then I can zoom in. Right, so there, yeah, okay. Thing is, you miss out on all this lovely stuff, but I'll leave it there so then you can see the tempo changes and everything else. All right, I'll make it like that. Okay, but then you can't see anything. I don't know what to do. Do you want to see the project or do you want to see the video? I suppose that's probably alright, isn't it? Yeah, right. Okay, this is it.
I'm approaching now. Stand by. Got it.
Verified. Enable semi-automatic control. Disable safety features. Maximum speed. Go.
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
We need distance. Head south.
Is that standard issue?
No. It's not. Point and shoot. Police ahead. Maintain speed. Sharp left. Now.
I missed!
Hold on. All right, I need you. Drop in, intersect, maximum speed. Arm charges now. Accelerate.
Acceleration 90%.
More.
94%.
More.
98%.
Stop.
Why the are we stopping?
Get down.
Come on. You've got to have a big old bah at the end. Come on. Anyway. So, that's that. Thanks for watching. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, because I don't think I would have many votes. Fortunately, it is judged by the panel of judges rather than a public popular vote. But I'm glad that people seem to be into it. Like I said, there's so many entries. Everyone's got a different take on it. And I think a lot of people who have been scoring for a long time. I know that I'm part of a few groups. Like I was accepted onto the BAFTA panel, not BAFTA panel, the BAFTA crew, which is like up and coming film writers, composers, producers, and chatting, like talking to some of those guys, I get the feeling that, you know, this sort of thing, the sort of Hans Zimmer effect, is something that's a bit like cliche in a way. A lot of people sort of frown on it. A lot of people think it's not very imaginative, it's not very interesting, it's just Hollywood blockbuster by numbers. And as much as I can see where they're coming from, I feel like it's one of those things where, you know, if you're like really into drum and bass or dubstep or whatever, and there's a really popular artist who everyone tries to emulate because they're really popular and they're successful, you get the people who sort of like turn their nose up at it because it's popular and successful, not because it's necessarily bad or the wrong thing to do or whatever. So I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like, to be honest, like I really like massive, like epic blockbuster music. So yeah, whatever. No, I've not been streaming for a while because I've been working on this, and I didn't want to live stream it in case it sort of took me off on a weird tangent. And also because I busted my back again, so I've been, you know, taking time out. Trend hopping. I don't know what you mean, trend hopping. I mean, people can do whatever they like. If it's good, it's good. At the end of the day, I'm not a purist by any stretch, as you would have seen by my live stream. One day I'm doing, you know, hip hop. One day I'm doing film score. One day I'm, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter to me anyway. Do what you want. What do you do this? Don't know what that means. Thanks. I am staying safe. I am still in lockdown. I don't care what Boris or his cronies say. I am listening to the scientists, and if people are still dying, I think it's better, if we can, possibly, to stay inside and protect the NHS. Staying alert is a bunch of nonsense just to try and get his mate off the hook, and I don't listen to any of that. I also, as much as I, you know, support what's going on with the sort of, you know, protests and everything, personally I don't feel comfortable taking public transport and being in a protest with a load of other people, regardless of people wearing masks or social distancing or whatever. I just don't think it's possible. So yeah, I'm staying indoors, and yeah, like, you know, donate to worthy causes, support worthy causes, get that damn racist out of the White House for a start. That would be a good idea. But yeah, in terms of like protesting right now in the middle of a pandemic, it doesn't sit well with me. But anyway, everyone's welcome to their own views. But yeah, exactly. Get the racists out generally. I mean, you know, we're not much better with who we've got at the moment. I mean, we've got, you know, Priti Patel, who would gladly stop her own grandparents from getting into the country. I mean, I don't even know how to unpick that. But this isn't a political live stream. I don't want to get into it. I think that people should educate themselves, not just on the sort of received education, but actively look into other people's experiences and try and have a bit more empathy, basically, because that's the key. Empathy. Right. On that note, I mean, I don't know what to do. Like, I was gonna stop the live stream because I've basically gone through everything now. I don't really have anything else to do, unless there's anything that people want to ask me about that score. Is there anything specific, like, oh, what was that string? What was that? What did you use for strings? What did you use for horns? What was that sound? But yeah, basically, Desi, I'm afraid you've missed all of it. But you can watch it back. It'll be up on the Twitch for a couple of weeks, so you can watch it there or Facebook, whatever. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and stay safe. And I'll probably be back on doing another thing at some point soon. I'm going to be making some more changes to the library album that I was making with Phil. Or similar sort of thing, very cinematic, very like occasionally epic, occasionally intimate, occasionally emotional. Going to do a lot more work on that over the coming weeks, so I'll do plenty of live streams for that. I will work with Ruby again, possibly on that track that we started. It's a bit more of a sort of pop thing, if you're into it. But yeah, till then, I don't know what I don't have a particular time that I do these things. I just sort of decide, right, okay, well, I've done everything admin wise for the day, and I'll just jump on a live stream and do something. So yeah, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a couple of days, maybe next week. But yeah, thanks for listening. Check out some of the other entries to the Westworld thing. It's #Westworld Scoring Competition 2020. There's loads of entries there, and so it's really interesting to see what people have done and compare and see what works for you. If you do find any good ones, let me know, because I've just been trawling through a lot of garbage. So yeah, right. Take care, everyone. Bye bye. Thanks for listening.